So should Theoden have just administered justice right there? Should they have just killed him? I mean, like, what's to stop him? Theoden's a king in his own lands. It's not like they have a court of law or anything like that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to There and Back Again, where we are walking our way through Tolkien's Legendarium, looking for new insights and a greater understanding of the works we all love. Today, we're continuing through the 6th chapter of Book 3, The King of the Golden Hall. As we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, grab a version of the books you don't have from the description below if you like to support the channel that way. We also have a couple great deals for you in the description. You get 15% off artisanal tea and coffee from Chapters Tea and Coffee, and also get the friends and family discount when you refinance or purchase a new home with Rocket Mortgage. Links again are in the description. All right, let's dive in. We ended last video with Theoden's counselor apparently recovered from his swoon and approaching Theoden and Gandalf after their chat. At that moment, Hama came again from the hall. Behind him, cringing between two other men, came Grima the Wormtongue. His face was very white. His eyes blinked in the sunlight. Hama knelt and presented to Theoden a long sword and a scabbard clasped with gold and set with green gems. "Here, Lord, is Herugrim, your ancient blade," he said. "It was found in his chest. Loth he was to render up the keys. Many other things are there which men have missed." So this is just Hama being awesome. He calls Grima out without a second thought, basically saying he stole a bunch of stuff. Grima says Hama is lying, which is important for a minute or two later. Basically, we're seeing how terrible a person he is. We also get the name of Theoden's sword, Herugrim, which, according to Hammond's Skull, means very fierce or cruel or savage, and comes from Old English. Really just want to hit those couple points quickly as there's always a lot to go over. Next, we see what Theoden has decided to do with Grima. He says Grima will ride with the rest of the Rohirrim, who will be riding out in the afternoon. Grima says he doesn't want to be separated from Theoden when all the others have gone. "You have my pity," said Theoden, "and I do not send you from my side. I go myself to war with my men. I bid you to come with me and prove your faith." Wormtongue looked from face to face. In his eyes was the hunted look of a beast seeking some gap in the ring of his enemies. He licked his lips with a long, pale tongue. "Such resolve might be expected from the Lord of the House of Eorl, old though he be," he said. "But those who truly love him would spare his failing years. Yet I see that I come too late. Others whom the death of my lord would perhaps grieve less have already persuaded him. If I cannot undo their work, hear me at least in this, Lord. One who knows your mind and honors your commands should be left in Edoras. Appoint a faithful steward. Let your counselor Grima keep all things till you return, and I pray that we may see it, though no wise man will deem it hopeful." Éomer laughed. "And if that plea does not excuse you from war, most noble Wormtongue," he said, "what office of less honor would you accept? To carry a sack of meal up to the mountains, if any man would trust you with it?" We can see how smooth a talker Grima is here. He starts with kind of a backhanded compliment, stating he could see such resolve from someone with the lineage of Eorl, even though he's old. So it's kind of like a, "Hey, Theoden, I know you're from like Mighty House and all, and your type of person tends to get these kinds of ideas in their heads, but you're really too old for this nonsense." Then he starts to cast doubt on Gandalf and Éomer by saying they wouldn't care if he was killed in battle. And lastly, he tries to get command of Edoras while they are away because he knows Theoden's mind and commands. Honestly, it's pretty impressive. He casts doubt first on Theoden himself, then on the others who are helping Theoden, and then provides a solution to the problem he just stated. Now, I know Rings of Power is a dicey topic, but in the first season, they gave Halbrand an interesting line of thought that parallel this really well. Identify what it is that your opponent most fears and give them a means of mastering it so that you can master them. Don't get mad at me if that's not 100% verbatim. I knew the gist of it, but like I had to find it online, so who knows? Hopefully whoever I got this from was right. But it makes sense, and it's pretty much what Grima's doing here. He's lifting himself up as the answer to the question of who will watch over the people of Edoras so he can gain mastery over them. Maybe he learned some techniques from Saruman. Of course, Éomer is bluntly honest. He wouldn't trust Grima to be in charge of Edoras and wouldn't trust him to carry a sack of food. But as we'll see from Gandalf's response here, Grima isn't just trying to get out of fighting. "Nay, Éomer, you do not fully understand the mind of Master Wormtongue," said Gandalf, turning his piercing glance upon him. "He is bold and cunning. Even now, he plays a game with peril and wins a throw. Hours of my precious time he has wasted already. Down, snake," he said in a terrible voice. "Down on your belly. How long is it since Saruman bought you? What was the promised price? When all the men were dead, you were to pick your share of the treasure and take the woman you desire. Too long have you watched her under your eyelids and haunted her steps. Eomer grasped his sword. That I knew already, he muttered. For that reason I would have slain him before, forgetting the law of the hall. But there are other reasons. He stepped forward. But Gandalf stayed him with his hand. Eowyn is safe now, he said. But you, Wormtongue, you have done what you could for your true master. Some reward you have earned at least. Yet Saruman is apt to overlook his bargains. I should advise you to go quickly and remind him, lest he forget your faithful service. You lie, said Wormtongue. That word comes too often easy from your lips, said Gandalf. I do not lie. See, Theoden, here is a snake. With safety you cannot take it with you, nor can you leave it behind. To slay it would be just, but it was not always as it now is. Once it was a man and did you service in its fashion. Give him a horse and let him go at once, wherever he chooses. By his choice, you shall judge him. Gandalf here lets everyone know what Grima is really after. Power and Eowyn. And Gandalf calls Grima out in front of everyone, not just for wanting Eowyn, but for haunting her steps. And now if he's being literal, we can take from this that Grima would come upon Eowyn at unwanted times, possibly even, tried to convince her to take part in his charms, which, awful. Hammond and Skull make an interesting observation here. When Gandalf says down snake to Grima, we're seeing an echo of Genesis 1, where God said to the serpent that he will go on his belly from now on. Now, as any good brother would be, Eomer is pissed that Grima is such a creep and has to get restrained by Gandalf from killing Grima right at that moment. Then Gandalf turns the tables on Grima and does almost the same thing he did to Theoden. He almost compliments him, saying he served his master and then cast doubt on his master by saying Saruman is apt to overlook bargains he's made. Go get your due, Grima, before it's taken back. Again, the liar calls someone else a liar. I love how Gandalf pretty much dismisses him, which is a pretty good tactic for someone like Grima. Don't let them talk. His strength isn't in strength of arms, it's his voice. Now, the thing that I see is important here is when Gandalf says to slay it would be just, but it was not always as it is now. Hammond and Skull remind us this is something Gandalf advocated for Frodo when talking about Gollum way back in chapter 2, and with Saruman coming up. He's advocating for mercy and even pity. We'll see Frodo in The Scouring of the Shire give that mercy, possibly pity as well. I even see it echoed in The Hobbit when Bilbo is about to stab Gollum from behind so he can get out of the tunnels of the Misty Mountains. He should kill the thing in front of him, but he sees that it wasn't always as terrible as it is at that moment. It's mercy and pity woven through Tolkien's stories. I discover more of that hidden theme every time I read and study these books, and it's just amazing. I love it. Lastly, we see Gandalf encourage Theoden to just let Grima go. You obviously can't leave him in charge of Edoras, and you can't take him with you if you don't trust him. You can't waste extra guards staying up all night to make sure he doesn't cause trouble. Just let him go. The next time you meet him, you can judge him based on the decisions he made when we let him go. It might not be the best option, but the best for now. So what does Grima ultimately decide to do? Do you hear this, Wormtongue? Said Theoden. This is your choice, to ride with me to war and let us see in battle whether you are true, or to go now whither you will. But then if we ever meet again, I shall not be merciful. Slowly, Wormtongue rose. He looked at them with half-closed eyes. Last of all, he scanned Theoden's face and opened his mouth as if to speak. Then suddenly he drew himself up. His hands worked. His eyes glittered. Such malice was in them that men stepped back from him. He bared his teeth, and then with a hissing breath, he spat before the king's feet, and darting to one side, he fled down the stair. After him, said Theoden. See that he does no harm to any, but do not hurt him or hinder him. Give him a horse if he wishes it. And if any will bear him, said Eomer. One of the guards ran down the stairs. Another went to the well at the foot of the terrace, and in his helm drew water. With it, he washed clean the stones that Wormtongue had defiled. So we see what Grima decides to do. He's no fighter, so he bails. And I love how Tolkien describes the whole scene. He really makes us kind of draw a breath in anticipation of violence happening. Then suddenly he drew himself up. His hands worked. His eyes glittered. Such malice was in them that men stepped back from him. You really think he's going to lunge for Theoden, especially after the other men step back. Maybe he'll even get the killing blow in before anyone else can stop him. But we see the bully for what he truly is, a coward. He's willing to be in the shadows and talk behind people's backs, but he's not going to openly be the aggressor. So they let him leave and make sure to clean up after him, but they don't stop him or put him in jail or anything. And though Theoden says he won't be merciful next time he sees Grima, he doesn't really have a chance to give that mercy or call it back. So should Theoden have just administered justice right there? Should they have just killed him? I mean, like, what's to stop him? Theoden's a king in his own lands. It's not like they have a court of law or anything like that. There's a few reasons I can think of not to. Theoden seems to be modeled after, or at least an echo of, Hrothgar and other kings of kind of Anglo-Saxon type heritage. I've read a little about kings in those times, and they were often known as giver of rings or gold or whatever. While I'm sure they ruled their land with something like an iron fist, they still wanted to reward people. And Grima was Theoden's counselor for a while, so I'm sure there's like a part of Theoden, probably deep down, that felt he deserved a reward. So, why not let him live at that point? Another reason I see is pity. And I use this with a capital P. This is the pity that Bilbo felt when looking at Gollum as he tried to leave the Misty Mountains. The pity we see Gandalf urging Frodo to feel for Gollum in Shadow of the Past. Gandalf even lets us know the reason Bilbo wasn't affected by the ring as much as others is because he started his ownership of the ring with pity. It's a big theme Tolkien weaves throughout the book. Again, my final reason is this. Here we see another example of, if not like capital F fate, little f fate. Had they kept Grima back and put him in jail or executed him, as he honestly probably rightly deserved, he would not have been in the Shire with Saruman during the penultimate chapter in the book. And had he not been in the Shire during the Scouring, who knows how the end of that would have played out? Would the hobbits have gotten their hands dirty by killing Saruman themselves? Or maybe Saruman would still be at large, free to do any mean mischief that suits him. We obviously can't know, but this is another example that Tolkien loves to have in here of the small things working to bigger ends. Not to mention, of course, I almost forgot this, the Palantir will never have been thrown out of Orthanc and used by Aragorn to push Sauron into rushing his attack on Minas Tirith. So even there, it's all still woven together. It's amazing. So moving forward, they all go get some food. Gandalf wonders how long Saruman's treachery goes, or how far back anyway. Of course, he was a friend of Rohan at some point, or at least not antagonistic to them. Gandalf continues to speak about when he was certain Saruman had turned. But when I escaped and warned you, then the mask was torn for those who would see. After that, Wormtongue played dangerously, always seeking to delay you, to prevent your full strength being gathered. He was crafty, dulling men's wariness or working on their fears, as served the occasion. Do you not remember how eagerly he urged that no man should be spared on a wild goose chase northward, when the immediate peril was westward? He persuaded you to forbid Éomer to pursue the raiding orcs. If Éomer had not defied Wormtongue's voice speaking with your mouth, those orcs would have reached Isengard by now, bearing a great prize. Not indeed that prize which Saruman desires above all else, but at the least 2 members of my company sharers of a secret hope, of which even you, Lord, I cannot yet speak openly. Dare you think of what they might now be suffering, or what Saruman might now have learned to our destruction? I owe much to Éomer, said Theoden. Faithful heart may have froward tongue. I don't have a lot to say except to notice how fate works here again. Grima convinced Theoden to order no one to ride out against the orcs. Éomer, the instrument of fate, if you will, defied that order and saved Merry and Pippin. Had he not, the hobbits would have already been in Isengard, and things would go much more poorly, because the truth would be drawn from them. Saruman and then Sauron would know who has the ring and where it is. Obviously, not great. Quickly, regarding Theoden's response, I want to quote Hammond and Skull because, yes, I said froward, not forward. Here's what they have to say about that. In the edition of 1994, froward was mistakenly reset to forward. The correct reading was restored in the edition of 2004. Froward means contrary, perverse. Don't have much to say about that, but pretty cool, right? Theoden, as I talked briefly about earlier, is now giving Gandalf a gift for services rendered, among them arriving just in time. Anything at least but his sword, Herugrim. Whether I came in time or not is yet to be seen, said Gandalf. But as for your gift, Lord, I will choose one that will fit my need, swift and sure. Give me Shadowfax. He was only lent before, if loan we may call it. But now I shall ride him into great hazard, setting silver against black. I would not risk anything that is not my own. And already there is a bond of love between us. You choose well, said Theoden, and I give him now, gladly. Yet it is a great gift. There is none like to Shadowfax. In him one of the mighty steeds of old has returned. None such shall return again. And to you, my other guests, I will offer such things as may be found in my armory. Swords you do not need, but there are helms and coats of mail of cunning work, gifts to my fathers out of Gondor. Choose from these ere we go, and may they serve you well. To fully understand how big of a gift this is, just a kind of a quick explanation. Shadowfax is the chief of the Meras. These are horses that let no man ride them except other than the kings of the Mark, or kings of Rohan. Gandalf being the exception. Appendix A gives us more information about Felaroth and how Eorl tamed him before riding to the aid of Gondor and then getting gifted the lands that are now Rohan. Other than them not letting many people ride them, what is so special about the Meras? Well, tradition holds that the ancestors of the Meras were brought over from across the sea, Valinor, by Orome the Vala himself. So it's likely that Shadowfax has magic kind of, I would just say, deep in his body and his genes and his soul. I mean, from what we've already seen, he definitely does. And while this information is in Appendix A, it's kind of another textual ruin Tolkien left to whet our appetites for the Silmarillion, which I love. Now, some of the Rohirrim come and give Gandalf, Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli their choice of armor and weapons, all that stuff. Gimli picks a small round shield that was Theoden's when he was a child, which makes me wonder exactly how Gimli fought and how he used the shield. So was it like a little buckler that got tied to his bracer and he could still swing two-handed axe, or use two one-handed axes, or did he just use one single-handed axe and then use the shield? I mean, we'll never really know, I guess. And this is where Jackson's movies kind of mess with our heads, because I just kind of assume that he uses always just this giant two-handed axe. Now it's finally time for them to begin the journey. The king now rose, and at once Eowyn came forward bearing wine. "Fare thou, Theoden Hall," she said. "Receive now this cup and drink in happy hour. Health be with thee at thy going and coming." Theoden drank from the cup, and she then proffered it to the guests. As she stood before Aragorn, she paused suddenly and looked upon him, and her eyes were shining. And he looked down upon her face and smiled, but as he took the cup, his hands met hers, and he knew that she trembled at the touch. "Hail, Aragorn, son of Arathorn," she said. "Hail, Lady of Rohan," he answered, but his face now was troubled, and he did not smile. "Fare through Theoden Hall," meaning may you go forth, Theoden, in health. Moving forward. And as Aragorn takes the cup to drink, electricity. But he perceives she feels things for him. He responds well and doesn't blow her off or anything, but we see his face is troubled and he does not smile. It's super easy to speculate here. What does Aragorn see in this interaction? First, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm super curious. Now, I never thought of this before, but now I think he's getting a bit of foresight and seeing like what doom she's going to like come into. He sees she has like feelings or whatever for him, and maybe sees how he'll have to reject her and how she'll take it, I don't know, we could just say poorly. And even though he's going to do it pretty lightly, maybe it's only partial foresight and he sees her riding to battle and falling. I don't know. This is kind of going to be my headcanon now, though. So time now for them to leave, but Theoden has one more bit of admin stuff to take care of. "Behold, I go forth, and it seems like to be my last riding," said Theoden. "I have no child. Theodred, my son, is slain. I name Eomer, my sister's son, to be my heir. If neither of us return, then choose a new lord as you will. But to someone I must now entrust my people that I leave behind to rule them in my place. Which of you will stay?" No man spoke. "Is there none whom you would name? In whom do my people trust?" "In the house of Eorl," answered Hama. "But Eomer I cannot spare, nor would he stay," said the king, "and he is the last of that house." "I said not Eomer," answered Hama, "and he is not the last. There is Eowyn, daughter of Eomund, his sister. She is fearless and high-hearted. All love her. Let her be as lord to the Eorlingas while we are gone." "It shall be so," said Theoden. "Let the heralds announce to the folk that the Lady Eowyn will lead them." So this is such a cool scene. Theoden asks his people, "Hey, who do you want to lead you while I'm gone?" Side note, I wonder if like when Eomer dies, the people start another line of barrows outside the city. Like there's only two sides of the road. So where does that go? I don't know. Anyway, Theoden first asks who's going to stay, and no one wants to stay. No one's volunteering to stay safe from the battle and rule in Theoden's stead. That says a lot about the people here. They won't shirk the danger, and we'll see later, they're almost eager to ride into it. Now, Theoden presses the issue, and Hama, dear Hama, says they trust the house of Eorl. Again, Eorl was the one who tamed Felaroth and rode to the rescue of Gondor and was gifted the land of Rohan, and of whom Theoden and Eomer and Eowyn are ancestors. So the people trust the house of Eorl. But Theoden's already said Eomer and he are riding out to war, so who can stay and rule? Hama, a guardsman, suggests Eowyn to lead. He calls her fearless and high-hearted and says that all the people love her. That just has to be one of the best things like a ruler can hear. They're loved by their people. So Eowyn, Shieldmaiden of Rohan, will lead the people of Rohan until the king returns from battle. I would venture to say it's a very good choice. Now, as they start actually leaving and moving towards their horses, Eomer approaches Gimli. "Hail, Gimli, Glowin's son," he cried. "I have not had time to learn gentle speech under your rod, as you promised. But shall we not put aside our quarrel? At least I will speak no evil again of the Lady of the Wood." "I will forget my wrath for a while, Eomer, son of Eomen," said Gimli. "But if ever you chance to see the Lady Galadriel with your eyes, then you shall acknowledge her the fairest of ladies, or our friendship will end." "So be it," said Eomer. "But until that time, pardon me, and in token of pardon, ride with me, I beg. Gandalf will be at the head with the Lord of the Mark, but Firefoot, my horse, will bear us both, if you will." "I thank you indeed," said Gimli, greatly pleased. I will gladly go with you, if Legolas, my comrade, may ride beside us." "It shall be so," said Eomer. "Legolas upon my left and Aragorn upon my right, and none will dare to stand before us." Don't have much to say about this, though I'm glad they put their aside their differences and taste in women aside while they ride out to save tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people from an evil wizard with an orc army. I do find it kind of odd. I don't know, maybe this is just me. Gimli's so dead set on everyone agreeing with him that the Lady Galadriel is the fairest of all in Middle-earth. He even says that their friendship will end if Eomer doesn't agree with him. Now, maybe a theme or common thing, like in the types of literature Tolkien was most studied in, like Beowulf-ish type era or something. In the Middle Ages, did they fight duels if someone said the other lady was like, "Hey, that lady is prettier than she is"? I don't know enough about history there, but I love this back and forth that lasts kind of the whole book, at least for once, you meet Eomer. So finally, they are ready to ride out to war. Shadowfax comes riding up and Theoden officially gives him to Gandalf. "I thank you, Theoden King," said Gandalf. Then suddenly he threw back his gray cloak and cast aside his hat and leaped to horseback. He wore no helm nor mail. His snowy hair flew free in the wind. His white robes shone dazzling in the sun. "Behold the White Rider!" cried Aragorn, and all took up the words. "Our king and the White Rider," they shouted. "Forth, Eorlingas!" The trumpets sounded. The horses reared and neighed. Spears clashed on shield. Then the king raised his hand, and with a rush like the sudden onset of a great wind, the last host of Rohan rode thundering into the west. Far over the plain, Eowyn saw the glitter of their spears as she stood still, alone before the doors of the silent house. Gandalf finally fully reveals himself, no longer concealed in gray. Rider and horse are eager for battle and glory. Eowyn, dressed in mail with sword in hand, left to rule the people who couldn't ride with them. And that is the conclusion of The King of the Golden Hall. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget, like and subscribe. Buy a new version of the book you don't already have in the description. And don't forget to claim your 15% off chapters, tea, and coffee, or get your friends and family discount on closing costs with Rocket Mortgage. And until next time, always remember, out into the day shall come again.